Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Hegseth just doubled down in the most magnificent way ever. Democrats have been going after him for blowing up, demolishing narco boats coming into the United States through the Caribbean and the Atlantic from Venezuela, Colombia, and other prominent sources. And that's a weird thing to criticize the Secretary of Defense, now Secretary of War, for, because I pay taxes because I want to see this sort of thing, our government protecting America from dangerous and very lethal narcotics coming into cities and demolishing small towns, hurting families. Almost everyone knows a family member who is addicted or has passed away from the usage of these dangerous narcotics. They thought their pressure on Pete Hegseth would work. It hasn't. One of the strikes that the administration conducted, they said, there was a survivor, 2 survivors from the boats, and Hegseth ordered secondary strikes to, eliminate the survivors, and they're saying that's a war crime. They were defenseless. But look, they were bringing drugs into America. To me, that warrants the DP, baby, the death penalty, okay? Anyways, they're saying Hegseth committed war crimes, and they thought, Hegseth would stop the strikes and just wait for the pressure to dial down. But man, this boy said, nah, we're striking again. In fact, they have struck and struck powerfully. I have some footage of that. Here's Hegseth saying, we are not backing down.
It's been a bit of an interesting week. We made sure to remind Admiral Bradley and others involved in Operation Southern Spear, we have your back. You're taking out narco-terrorists in our hemisphere on behalf of the American people. We're sinking drug boats and deterring the poisoning of the American people. We will always have our military leadership's back.
There we go. So that's Hegseth saying that. And then I found this so funny. So Chuck Sniffer, the Senate Minority Leader, said Pete Hegseth is not qualified to serve as Secretary of Defense. It's war, okay? Don't misgender the Secretary of War. He has new pronouns now. It's Secretary/War, okay? Sec/War, Sec War. Our troops deserve better. He must resign. That's what Chuck Sniffer said. And then Andrew Colvett said, every new attack aimed at Pete Hegseth makes me want another narco drug boat blown up and sent to the bottom of the ocean. And then Pete Hegseth replied, your wish is our command, Andrew. Just sunk another narco boat. So they sunk another one like DJ Khaled. Come on, baby. And here's the story. So this is from the Coast Guard. Of course, we are in peacetime, so the Coast Guard is under the jurisdiction of the Department of Homeland Security, but it is still part of the military, so Hegseth would have had a say on this. But they confronted another boat. Are these narco-terrorists using Internet Explorer? Do they not see their fellow drugmen getting completely cooked in the middle of the ocean in the Caribbean? Why aren't they just not doing this? It's weird. Like, you'd think they get the message after the 20th strike, but here's this amazing footage. So the Coast Guard is, let's just say, doing something. Let's not show that. I don't think you can show that on YouTube. That's footage that's very sensitive, and of course, they intercept, and it's beautiful, okay? It's absolutely beautiful. And you can tell they're just fishermen in the middle of the ocean getting some fish. But yes, they got intercepted, and this is how much was seized. 20,000 pounds of Coca-Cola during the mission, which amounts to more than 7.5 million potential lethal doses. Wow. That's in a single operation, so that's millions of dollars worth of this. And that's worth the risk to these cartels, because if they just get that over the border, that's a lot of money that can be made with those sales. And then Hegseth clarified that he wasn't even in the room when that decision was made on the secondary strike that the Democrats are all over him for. So that further debunks everything they've been saying. He's been completely vindicated. Admiral Bradley of the Navy confirmed that Hegseth didn't give that direct second order. It was actually Admiral Bradley himself who did that. But they're framing it like Hegseth threw the admiral under the bus, but that's not exactly what's happening. It's just a reality of the situation. The Secretary of War is busy, so it would make sense that he left the room and then, a few hours or days or I don't know how long that time lapse was. It makes sense that the personnel in that room at that point made the decision.
As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
Absolutely. Amazing response there from Hegseth, and of course, Kingsley Cortez, I believe, at the Secretary of War's press office confirmed that it was approved by the best military and civilian lawyers. I don't think we needed lawyers to... Well, when the media criticizes these strikes, I'm not going to play this because I do actually just want to talk about this. When the media comes at the administration for conducting these strikes, what they're doing is they're effectively attacking the military. They're attacking the service members, right? When they think they can just say, Trump is sinking alleged boats that weren't really full of narco terrorists or full of the Coca-Cola that they were bringing into the United States. What they're doing is they're insulting the intelligent men and women that work in surveillance and intelligence in the military who, they think, they're just like using satellite imagery to identify random boats and then go, that's it. No, they must have tracked these boats from their source, and then when they got to international waters, made that strike decision. It must have been a curated effort. Like, you don't just blow something up that you don't know anything about. They must have tracked with intel on the ground that, hey, this movement is happening, and then they must have found the perfect spot to intercept the movement when they weren't expecting it, the traffickers, that is. That's how it works. None of these strikes have been conducted outside of international waters. So all of these strikes have been on fair ground. We haven't done this off the coast of Venezuela or Colombia or any of the other countries involved. So it's a real insult to the military, the service members who work so hard for the country, to say, these aren't real traffickers, they're fishermen in the middle of the Caribbean or the Atlantic. That's not how that works, okay? But yeah, it's great to see that Pete Hegseth is just he's not giving them anything, man. He's just going to keep doing this, and more strikes are coming, and it's going to be on land soon, and we're going to take Venezuela's dictator and throw him out and put an America-friendly administration there that will not be sending drugs into this country or sending migrants to create a humanitarian crisis at our border. Yeah, and we might have our American companies create refineries and oil wells and drill in Venezuela, and both countries would profit. Venezuelans would have a lot of jobs in industry, and the United States would get a lot of good profits for our companies, and they would expand their businesses at home. It's a win-win for everybody, okay? I support regime change. This is Lindsey Graham speaking. But yeah, great on Hegseth. I pray they keep going and they never stop. Thank you all very much for watching. God bless and goodbye.